All right. So we are making sure we are live. All right. So what's going on, guys? Donnie Rouse here, and I have a special little inspiration from you. I just came back from doing coffee deliveries, and this is about your fears. So without further ado, hi, guys. My name is Donnie Rouse, and you are listening to the podcast One Life. No fear. Erase your fear and step forward with confidence. Every one of us has fears, right? It's just a part of our human existence, right? You look at something that might cause pain, and naturally there's going to be some fear there. But what if you can get over that pain? What if there was this little hack that enabled you to just look at fear a little bit differently, look at that worst case scenario a little bit differently? How would that transform your life? How would that shape what you go after, what you try to achieve? I'm on here because I found that secret formula, this little, I call it the Jedi mind trick, and I want to share that with you because in learning it, it helped me transform some of those fears and step forward with confidence. Before we get there, let's think, well, so what is it if you had no fear? What would you do? What would you attempt? Right? Maybe you would go after that significant other, that person you have that crush on, but you just haven't had the courage to go up there and just say something. Maybe you would start the business. Maybe you would finally say, you know what? I am tired of waiting around for people to try, find someone to travel with. I am going to do it on my own. Whatever it may be, pick like 3 things. And next to those items, I want you to just write, what is the worst that could happen, right? What is the worst case scenario? I'll add another question later on, but once you put it on paper, now it's tangible. It's no longer dancing around your head. So I just came back. I was doing deliveries, and I was at one of my accounts, one of my favorite accounts, my friend Tony. We were talking about my trip. I just came back. I did 5 weeks in Europe. I was in 4 weeks in Italy. Then I did kind of like another week where I mixed it in between Lisbon, Portugal, and I did Miami, Florida. Miami, Florida was just to kind of get some sun and take a break from all the moving around. In that time I was there for literally, I did about 16 cities in Italy in a matter of 30 days. It was really, really intense. I drank a shit ton of coffee, caffeinated up the yin yang. But I came back, and all of a sudden I felt like I was in a funk. I felt like my world was spinning. I was in a tailspin. And I was looking at the things that I wanted to do. And I just felt fear holding me back because the next step, I had all these beliefs about what that next step meant for my life. If you listened to this podcast before, you will most likely have heard me mention my business about, it's been probably one of my greatest teachers in the sense that there's always a fear to get over. There's always a way or a step you have to take outside of your comfort zone. So when I was looking at my business, I was thinking like, oh my gosh, how do I expand cold Roman? Like some of the fears that I had before were someone stealing my recipe or not being able to trust the team. I mean, there was a list of fears. And by doing a lot of internal work, I actually overcame them and came away with a lot of new realizations. And the Italy trip had something to do with it as well. And some of those findings I'll do in another podcast, but this is strictly about fear. So I was on I visited my account. I was talking to my friend Anthony. He's like, yeah, he's like, your stuff is great. You have to get this out there. I was like, yeah, I'm working on it. And he had mentioned that many times over, and I'd probably given the same response over. I was like, but it's different this time. He's like, well, why is that? He's like, I know if I were doing this, he's like, it would scare the crap out of me. He's like, how do you get over that? And so I shared with him. I said, one of the things that helped me was when I think about fear, right? Before I would think about, well, what's the worst case scenario, right? Like, what is the worst that could happen? And that was like the image that was always playing over and over on repeat in my mind, right? Think of if you're something you're fearing, what's the imagery that's going on in your mind? Is it playing once or is it playing over and over on repeat? Is the image dull Or is it very vivid and like you to the point where you could almost feel it? Now, I'm not going to go into um, any visualizations or anything like that, but I want you to understand, to know what kind of imagery you're playing over in your mind, right? Because the images you put in your mind are what create the emotion. This, what I'm about to share with you, what I did was I said, okay, well, what is the worst that could happen, right? If I take these steps, I was writing, talking to a consultant, going live on Instagram, doing all these things with social media. Like, what is the worst that could happen? Oh, maybe people will say, who does he think he is? Maybe people would make snark comments. Maybe, what if I just lost the money where I hired a consultant and it didn't go anywhere, right? There was all of these things that were going through my mind. As I listed them on a sheet of paper, I said, okay, well, with all of this, right? I've been there before. I've been to the point where I was had to be very frugal with my money, but I got by, right? I was able to get by, and it was okay. So looking at everything on that list, I told him, I said, the question I would ask is, if all this were to come into fruition, if it were to all come true, would I be okay? And the answer was yes. I'm like, well, yeah, all right. Well, in the unlikelihood, if that were to happen, yeah, I'd be. If I lost the money I invested with a consultant, would I be all right? Sure, I would. I mean, right? It'd be a learning experience, and I'm not trying to say, well, you're looking. I'm just looking at the bright side, but I would be fine. And I think one of the things you'll find with all of those fears, that if the worst case came to fruition, you would still be fine. Well, isn't that focusing on the negative? Isn't that going to bring you towards a negative? Was the question he asked me. And I said, not necessarily, because we often avoid that thing, because when we think of like the worst case scenario, it's almost like we're equating it with death. We're like, oh my, well, I won't be able to. I said, but think of your business. So he has a delicatessen. I said, think of your business, right? If you were, it's the quiet month from now, getting ready for summer. I was like, what if the next 3 months, what if the next 5 months were extremely quiet? Sure, you might have to, pull some stock out. Sure, you might have to maybe even lay someone off. Sure, you might have to tighten your belt with the things you purchase, but would you be fine? And he thought about it. He said, well, you know what? Yeah, I would. There's been times like that where I had to. He's like, I totally would be fine. When you get to that point, when you realize, you know what, then if everything is going to be okay anyways, then why not just go for it, right? Why not just do the thing, start taking the steps? So that was one of the things that I found to really transform how I thought of fear. There are many other things that can help you. And one of the things, which would be a different episode altogether, is just trusting in yourself. Trusting in yourself that whatever happens, you are confident, and you just have to believe in yourself that you'll make it through regardless, and that you'll see it through, and you have a vision that's strong enough, and you just trust in yourself. I could repeat that 100 times. Trust in yourself. Right? Not looking at all the other things that could go wrong, but only at the outcome you want. You're more powerful than you think. So that is what I've got for you guys today. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you'll do the exercise. So before I leave, let's just revisit the exercise. Like, what are the things that you want to achieve, right? Put those things on a piece of paper in front of you. In the next column, write down, what are all the fears you have around it, right? Say you want to be more visible on social media. So you're like, I'm afraid of messing up the first time. I'm afraid of sounding stupid. I'm afraid of looking ridiculous when I do a live. I'm afraid of, getting comments from people who are haters. Put everything down on paper. And then on that third column, like, all right, well, if this were to happen, would I be able to move on? Yes, okay. Yeah, if there are, of course, going to be haters. You're going to get hated regardless of whether you do an amazing job or you do a crappy job your first time. there's always going to be haters, so that shouldn't stop you, right? So you just go through everyone. Would I be fine? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I've had people, comment, and yeah, I'm new at this, so chances are it's probably not going to go phenomenal the first time around, right? Because it's only natural. I have to learn. Okay, and you start checking these things off, and yeah, I'll be fine. And when you get through and you're looking at that list, you say, all right, well, this is what I want. This is the imagery. And at worst case scenario, yeah, there's nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. You'll be fine. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope you literally take the 5 minutes, maybe even 3, not even 3 minutes, make 2 minutes, right? Just literally write down your fears for a particular desire that you have. And just do the exercise and tell me, leave in a comment. Let me know, how does it feel? I think you'll be surprised at what comes out. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider sharing it to your friends, your family. The only way this podcast is going to grow and we get this great positive information out there is for you to share it. Please subscribe, hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. If you have any questions, comments, visit me at www.donnyrouse.com. Again, DONNYRAUS.com. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys, you deserve to live the life of your dreams. So remember, you only get one life. Live it. God bless, and I will see you again soon.